Hello, everybody. Welcome to my channel, and thank you for joining. Now, in today's episode, we're going to do this weekend's review. Okay, we're going to review all the games from round 0. Well, there was only 2. Okay, so we're going to review 2 games from round 0. Just coming down. First, we're going to start up with the Sydney versus Hawthorn game. Now, in this game, we saw some huge scores. Now, what I want to do is also, unfortunately, we don't have this for Supercoach, but we've got fantasy by quarter points. Okay, I wish they had this for Supercoach. Fantasy Supercoach by quarter. However, it is pretty close to fantasy, I suppose. But take note, quarter 1. Roberts didn't do much, and then he leveled out second, third, and fourth quarters. Okay, then he went nuts. Okay, well, not nuts, but he went decent. Okay, now who else had a big quarter and bad previous? Well, Blakey had a huge third quarter, but not so big in the first, last, and second quarters. So these things are quite interesting sometimes to see with the result. For example, Jordan scored 30 points in the first quarter, then scored 3 points, 8 points, and 17 points. So these things all are important. And for example, we got a Will Day here, okay? 43 points in the first, and these are fantasy points, okay? 53 in the second, only 9 in the third, and 24 in the last. Now, I'm going to explain it to you all this now in a minute, okay? Now, just coming down. Now, let's start first with Roberts. What did we notice about Roberts? Now, well, I'm going to do both at the same time, Roberts and Blakey, because there's an interesting stat here that I want to share with you, which is the kick-ins. We've got 10 kick-ins for Blakey and only 1 for Roberts. Last year, we were seeing a lot of kick-ins for Roberts, and that's how he was getting his points. Seems to have changed a little bit, okay, because it looks like, if we go to Roberts, okay, let's go on his heat map, right, when we get to it, heat map. And we can look at Robert. He had 95% time on ground. All right, that's the first thing of note. Okay, now compared to his time on ground in other games last year, have a look. 77, 75. So his time on ground has increased significantly. Okay, and it's actually massive. Now, with a massive time on ground, he's going to score a lot of points. And you can see a lot of kicks here. These would be from those kick-ins. Okay, so he's getting a lot of these short kick-ins and taking the marks. I'm not sure if they all are, but he's getting a few of them anyway. So, and he's running as a attacking half-back through the midfield. So the role is there for him. The only concern now, okay, is this. Now, this is a concern, okay, and it's the points per minute. He's only getting 1.01 point per minute, okay, because of his high time on ground. If he had similar time on ground to his other games, which is like 77% and 75%, he'd be scoring in the 80s and 85s, okay, or even 70s as you saw there. So that is one concern, okay, because kick-ins, as you can see here, even in these bad games, having these kick-ins is a major boost. When you only got 1, now you're relying on time on ground. So is he going to have this much time on ground for the whole season? Maybe the answer is yes. Maybe his fitness has improved. Maybe I'll give it to him. So I don't know the answer, unfortunately. So I can't tell you. But from what we saw, it's very hard to knock him back at his price. So he's actually currently in my team. Yeah, when we go to Nick Blakey, okay, and this is a different thing to consider because he's got all the kick-ins now. He's also, but the price factor for Blakey is a little bit higher, a little bit more awkward because he needs to be virtually a top 8 at his price. And we saw here 10 kick-ins. He's scoring at 1.08 points per minute because his time on ground's a bit less. if he keeps these kick-ins, like takes all of them, he's going to be a very consistent Supercoach scorer. So I actually like Nick Blakey more than I like Roberts for the fact that he's got the kick-ins. Okay, so you're guaranteed points. 10 kick-ins, you're guaranteed 40 points. Okay, so you're getting a 40-point head start, and then all you got to do is earn another 60 to 70 points. So Blakey actually looks good, but maybe they changed things up. I don't know. But from what we saw on the weekend, he looked very impressive. But it's too risky for me to start him. I mean, if you consider he had 14 points in the first quarter, and these are fantasy points, 21 in the second quarter, and only 13 in the last. He got a lot of his points in that third quarter. Now I don't know how many behinds were kicked. I don't get this information here, but that's the only concern. There's not a lot of there's not a huge ceiling for him, is what I'm trying to say. Roberts, however, with no kick-ins, actually can have a ceiling of the odd 39-point quarter. Now, Chad Warner, 87% time on ground. I'm not sure, to be honest. He scored 115 Supercoach points. I'd say it's a pass with all the value we got it right now in our teams. Heaney is a question now. Scored a 105. He's not cheap, okay? He's got the double buy round. I think a lot of these players, a double buy round isn't good, okay? Because you only want the value players now that you can get these double buy rounds. Because you're compensating the points with the value you're going to get from the dollars. So it's worth it. Let's go down to Grundy now, 87. And that was against Meek, okay? So I'm not sure about Grundy. Last year, he's up and down. Look, you can see he's scoring 12, 18, and a big last quarter. Grundy last year petrified me. Okay, so I don't think I'll ever have Grundy ever again. Okay, so cross off Grundy. Going further down, Peyton scored 67 Supercoach points. He did it very slowly, okay? Even in fantasy, he scored 35 fantasy points. It's even worse for his fantasy output. But for Supercoach, it was sort of half decent anyway. Going further down, Lloyd. Now, where did Lloyd play? Let's take a look. Where did Lloyd play this week? Because we know that they were missing Goulden. So with Goulden gone, we want to see what Lloyd has been doing. Okay, because it's important to see what Lloyd did. Because Lloyd played on the wing, it says here, and you can see that he has. And with Goulden gone, Lloyd's on the wing, which now frees up Roberts in that halfback role. So that's a good. Lloyd being out of this halfback role is good for Roberts, which means the kick-ins come straight from straight to Roberts most of the times, whereas before it was going to Lloyd. So that's a good aspect, okay, of having Roberts now. And if we go further down, we get a Sheldrick. And he was the big disappointment, and he even got subbed out. I'm not sure on Sheldrick. And Hanley was a sub, started as a sub, came on and scored 30 fantasy points. Okay, so he actually looked decent. He did what virtually Sheldrick did, fantasy-wise, even Supercoach-wise. Sheldrick had 3 quarters. Hanley did it in 1. Okay, so Hanley actually looks better than Sheldrick for our Supercoach output. But I'm not sure how much they're going to persist with Hanley, and if there are other players coming back, so keep an eye out on Hanley. We now go to Hawthorn, and we talk about Will Day. Will Day started like a house on fire. 43 and 96 fantasy points. That's nuts, okay? And then quarter 3, only 9, then 24 in the last quarter. And people are worried that he sort of fell apart, okay? It collapsed. What happened to him? Well, the thing is, with Will Day, his time on ground, if you take a look, it's only 73%. It was at 85% at this stage, because he's resting forward. I really like this pick for that reason. So instead of, I'll just show you, okay? Let's get over here. Will Day. Okay, where is it? Where are we? Over here. Actually, no. Well, that's his heat map. Okay, heat map looks good. I don't want to see the heat map. What do I even go there for? Time on ground. In the past, okay, 79, 74, 76, 79, 71, 76, 70, all low 70s, okay, mid to low 70s, a couple of 80s here, but a lot of 70s there. He was at 85 at half time, okay, even like, I think it was 86. The reason is he's now going to spend some time forward, okay? People are saying, well, he kicked 3 goals, that's why he scores so high. Well, he did because he spent time forward. Instead of spending time on the bench, he's spending that time in the forward line. So he's getting extra points. It's actually a bonus. If you can get a player, because his points per minute last year were through the roof, okay? The 1.45, 1.04, 1.11, you can see here, 1.2 points, 1.18, that's through the roof, okay? That's very nice, okay? Now, the thing with him is, this time, his points per minute went even higher because of the fact that he went to the forward line. Let's get back to the stats here. Let's close off all these heat maps. Okay, I've got too many stuff up here now. Too many boxes opened now. Close all these. Okay, look at the live scoring. Now, he scored only 9 points in the third quarter. That's because he didn't play a lot of the third quarter. He had cramp, okay? He was virtually on the bench, okay? And I actually thought he was injured, okay? I thought we lost him, but he came back. It was only cramp. So he cramped out in the third quarter, same as we saw with Dacos, cramped out. And in the last quarter, he caught the tag as well and cramped out. I mean, if you're cramped, you've got a tag on. You can't run, okay? You can't do anything. So the tag was very successful on Will Day simply because he couldn't move. And the tag in the fourth quarter, even though he can hardly move and he's cramped up, he still scored 24 points. That's actually quite impressive. If you looked at a full game at 24, and that's fantasy points, you're looking at a 90, what is it, a 96, okay? So it's still good enough for a player that's fully tagged. Now, his draw isn't the best, okay? We know he's got a buy coming up, but his price is that appealing that I can't knock it back, so I'm going to be starting him. Now, we go to Lloyd Meek, okay? Now, with Meek, he started like a house on fire. Look at his 47 and 32, compared to his counterparts over here, Grundy, 12 and 12. But Grundy in the last quarter scored 27. Meek scored a 21. So virtually in the second half, he also stopped. Okay, and him stopping is also a factor to Will Day stopping. It's sort of coincidental. Okay, you can see here, because the hit-outs to advantage aren't happening now, and Day isn't getting the feed from Meek anymore. So it sort of combines together. You can see Newcomb, the same, 18 and 10. They're not getting the feed from Meek. The good thing, however, is Meek is a very good ruckman, and he's going to always feed Day and Newcomb. So I can see both of them having a good year. The player that I really want to talk about is Scrimshaw. Okay, let's get to Scrimshaw. Okay, this is an interesting one. Okay, now Scrimshaw last year scored decent as well. Okay, 118s, 90s, but Scrimshaw only 77% time on ground. He doesn't play as a tall anymore, so he plays pretty much as a proper small now in the back line, okay, as a half back. So the chances of him scoring now, okay, and that's not a very huge, that's not like a massive man, that's a 112 from this map, okay, so his kicking is elite, and unfortunately he's at an awkward price, so he's going to be a good player if you're going to do drafts, okay, and I actually picked him up in draft. I think we picked number 200, so you can get him very late in the draft. So he's a decent draft player, but I don't think decent for Supercoach. The sick dog, okay, now you can see here, he moved. He was on the wing at the start, so and then he moved to the forward line, and that's when the scoring stopped. His position was quite unusual because it was sort of wing, a bit of back line, and then full forward. His scoring is going to be up and down because of this, okay? So I sort of a bit skeptical with him. You can see here, he's on the wing, half-back, full. Have you ever seen a map like this before? So he's pretty much everywhere, okay? So he's going to be Mr. Fix-It, and Mr. Fix-Its don't score that well in Supercoach, unfortunately. You want a more secure role with your players, so for me, the sick dog is going to be a pass this year. Now, Joy Newcomb disappointed me, okay, and I had my concerns because it's very rare that I see both Day and Newcomb go nuts. Look at the Dogs, when you see all the Dogs midfielders, they all score big. When at the Hawks, it's always one of them or the other, and it's usually Day that does it. So I'm a bit sort of concerned about Newcomb. So he was part of that 1% crew weapon that I had, but I've since got a few other players that are better value than him, so I'm sort of taking him out. But he had a sort of a decent game, but it wasn't like sensational. Okay, now Mackenzie is at an awkward price as well. He scored good. He scored a 97 for his price, so he's actually not bad. But a bit risky, I think. I'd rather go for some of these 450k players with higher ceilings, because the ceiling's not there. Okay, so if you go further down, Moore. Now, Moore's an interesting one. He scored 90 points. He's going to be like this all year. He's going to have games where he scores 130. He's going to have games where he scores 60. I think he's in the conversation for a top 6 forward again, same as last year. So we're going to just wait for his down games. Once he drops in price, you just grab him. He's going to score a 60 eventually. Once he scores a couple of 60s back to back is when you sort of grab more. Battle didn't do as much as he did in the practice game, so it's a pass. Is there anyone else here? There's pretty much no one. Warple got injured. And that's pretty much it for Hawthorn. We now go to the GWS and Collingwood game, and this game has changed my team, okay? Although the first game did also, because I didn't have Roberts in my team, and now he's come into my team, but I already revealed that team. However, there were players in this game that I wasn't expecting to go as well as they did, and there's actually one player in particular that got injured that's going to affect a player that I just brought in. So let's go through this now. Now, I want to talk about Finn Callahan, okay? Let's go to fantasy quarter by quarter. And you can see here, even in fantasy, he never stopped, okay? Same thing throughout. Fantasy points 110, Supercoach points 144. He went at 85% efficiency. Can you believe this? 85%. Look at this, okay? I've never seen nothing like this before, okay? For a midfielder, usually a defender would do this, okay, but not a midfielder, because midfielders have a lot of rush kicks, okay, so they don't usually go at 85%. Going to Callahan, disposal efficiency, 85%. Now, in previous years, he's been as low as 68, 65, 72, has the odds 90. So I think this game was his max, okay? That's pretty much his ceiling, 144. We're not going to expect this from him every game, okay? Now, realistic points for Callahan will be around about a 105, I think. And I think that's good enough for his price. So for a 105, he's a bargain, all right? However, if you can get the odd big game in like this, a 144, it's going to be huge. And you got Tom Green coming into the team. I think that will help him. So he'll actually be better for it, because he'll get a lot of ball assists from Green. So he'll get a lot of feed from Green. Now, keeping in mind he scored 33, had 33 touches. They didn't have a ruckman. Okay, they was getting smashed in the ruck. So this is all done with no ruckman in the team. So it actually makes it even more unbelievable. Okay, so it's a great effort by the young man. If you look at his heat map, he pretty much pure mid. Okay, he played everywhere. He had 80% CBAs. Okay, I think at his price for what he can do, for his role, he's a lock for me now, okay? He was never considered once in my team. I wasn't expecting this, okay? So it came as a shock. So it made me very happy, because I changed my whole team around, and he fits in like a glove in my team right now. Now, going further back, or further down, I've seen Sam Taylor in a couple of teams, okay? Now, I would tell you that's a high risk, okay? Sam Taylor scored 139 Supercoach points. He never does that, okay? Let's go to Sam Taylor, Supercoach. This is going to be one of these one-off games, okay? This won't happen all the time. And with Taylor, as you can see in his previous, I mean, he's a player that could score 50s, 90s, 80s. He's actually never scored 139 before. This is his highest ever score. He has scores of 107, 121, then he backs up for 65 and 67. You can see here. So if you're considering Taylor, the role is no good. Okay, it's a back pocket role, no kick-ins, no nothing. He only had 17 disposals, so his points came from all his intercept marks. Okay, you can see here 13 marks, and most of them would have been intercepts. So they were about 6 to 8 points each. So that's where he got all his points from, and that won't happen every week. So I would take. Well, it'd be a good player for drafts. That's about it. Okay, so don't get too excited because I saw one of my mates have him in his team, and I said, "Don't do it." Okay, take him out. Josh Kelly. Scored the 132. If Green comes in, I think the player that gets affected the most is going to be Kelly, and Kelly back on the wing, because there's no way they're going to move Callahan now. Okay, so Kelly will be the one going out. They'll keep Bedford in this team. He's the tagger. So Bedford, Green, and Callahan will be the top three, and then you'll have other players coming in, like Kelly off the wing sometimes into the midfield. Lockie Ash. Now, this is the very interesting one. We need to discuss this now. I couldn't get my head around this, okay? It was driving me nuts. Lockie Ash, 16 points at quarter time, or fantasy, okay? Mind you, his fantasy and Supercoach points are very similar. So let's even say they could have been very close to Supercoach points. 10 points in the second quarter, then 52 points and 47 points in the next two quarters. Okay, now what happened? Okay, how did this happen? How do you go from 26 at halftime and finish on 125? It's unheard of. Okay, well, what happened? Okay, now, well, I went to the kick-ins. Okay, and Ash took 6 kick-ins. All right, played on 5 of them, so that's 20 points. Okay, now I would say he had all these kick-ins in the second half. Lockie Whitfield would have had his kick-ins in the first half. Okay, now. Why the change? Well, I did notice that Whitfield did get injured. So if we first of all have a look at Lockie Ash's heat map, okay, because this is going to give the story. All right, so we look at Lockie Ash's heat map because we don't have a half-time heat map and a full-time heat map, so I can't compare it. Okay, but looking at his heat map, he hasn't moved position, so he scored the same points in the second half. He scored 26 points in the first half with his heat map, and scored 100 points in the second half. Okay, now it doesn't make any sense. So then we go to Whitfield's heat map. All right, what happened with Whitfield? Let's take a look now. Let's go to Whitfield, and the way I saw it, okay, because I was trying to make it make sense. Okay, Whitfield, this would have been Whitfield's first half here, and then he copped a cramp. He couldn't walk, okay, and he went to the bench a bit, couldn't walk. I'd say this is Whitfield's second half over here, and I'm guessing, okay, it's the only thing that makes sense. So when Whitfield played here, Lockie Ash wasn't scoring, Whitfield was, although Whitfield wasn't scoring that much, but he was doing okay. Once Whitfield moved over here with his cramp, because he was useless over here, couldn't run, so they moved him over here. That's when Lockie Ash opened up. So I would be very skeptical about starting Lockie Ash straight. I wouldn't mind starting Whitfield. I can't see Whitfield moving to this role for the rest of the year. He has to be back over here again. But obviously, if you cop cramp, you're going to come over here. So I would say that I would want to see another week of Lockie Ash, and if you're going to pick him up after his bye, okay? So after next week, he has his bye, then consider him, okay? So watch him very close next week again. Don't start him this week. It would be my recommendation. Now, I did say Caliber. It's actually Brent Daniels. I apologise. I'm not sure if I said Caliber Brent, but it's Brent Daniels. He had it's what you call the fourth banana, okay? Because there was 4 of them being the fourth banana. They all shared it, okay? So Leake had 28% CBAs, Daniels had 24, Toby Green had 24, and that was it. Actually, the 3 of them were sharing as backup midfielders. So he's going to have a backup midfield role, all right? If we go to his scoring. I don't think he's going. We've got better options in the forward line than this young man. He had 21 touches, kicked. How many goals did he kick? One goal, one behind. His heat map is going to show you that he's everywhere, okay, which he is. But I think he falls in that top 8 to 10 forwards in Supercoach. Now, other players that are Supercoach relevant, I'm not sure if Brett Daniels is. I mean, he's maybe a top 8 to 10 forward, so probably not that relevant because we've got so much value there right now. But if we go further down, there are two rookies. One is Stone, one is Leake. Okay, these are the big ones. Now, Stone has a secure enough job, I think, and I think he's going to be a lock into our D6 spot. If he scores 64s every week, that's good enough. We're happy. So we've locked in Stone, and I think he's in a lot of teams. The problem I have is with Leake. Okay, now, Leake scored 64. He had a few CBAs, okay, had 28% CBAs. He was like the fourth banana in this team to have CBAs. The only thing that worries me is this, okay? Let me show you his heat map. And he played here. You can see him a bit of forward, a bit on the wing, all right? On the wing, this spot usually will go to a player that played in the midfield, and that's Kelly, okay? Now, when we see Green come back, where does Kelly go? Well, I think Kelly goes to the wing, okay? Maybe there's a role for him. Maybe Weir is also a winger, and Weir was actually the sub. So Weir is also a possibility to take this wing role. So there's a bit of a job security problem I see with James Leake. Even though he did well, he did really well. But GWS is probably one of the Premiership top 4 favourites. So they're going to blood him, but he's not guaranteed to play every week. So I have concerns over Leake, and at the moment I have him in my team because I have no other choice. But we do have concerns. If he starts next week, he then goes on the bubble. So probably have to start him again, and then just pray that he plays the third game, because then Green comes in, and we don't know if he's going to play the third game or not. So it's going to be a gamble. And pretty much the only player left to talk about is Cornelius, and there's not much to talk about with Cornelius, okay? He scored a 13, 16, 0, and 7. Is a no good this year, okay? He didn't get the midfield minutes, even with Green missing, so that's not a good sign. Maybe he's not fit, okay? I don't know, but maybe he'll drop more in price. Maybe drop to about 250k, then they play him as a pure mid. Maybe then we can get him, okay? But at the moment, it's a massive pass. And Briggs went down, okay, scored the 5 Supercoach points. It's a big down because next week they play Melbourne, okay, and we saw what Darcy Cameron scored against Briggs. It's a 164. If Darcy Cameron can score 164 against Briggs, what is Gawn going to do? Okay, is the question I want to ask you. Okay, just calm it down. So we now move on to Collingwood, since we mentioned Darcy Cameron. And he had a good game, 164. And we know with Darcy Cameron last year averaged 110, 115 on the run home. He's a decent ruckman. Only problem is he's got the 2 bye rounds. Competition-wise, he's got a Meek competing against him. Also have 2 bye rounds. He's got TDK. You got Nank the Tank there. You got Gawn. You got a few players. You got Sherry. So who do you pick? So he's not highly owned at all. Okay, but he's decent. Perryman, in the last quarter, moved to the back line. Okay, now that's why his score dropped. He only got 93 Supercoach points. You can see here, up until 3/4 time, he was doing really well. In the last quarter, they moved him to defence. Okay, so his scoring stopped, and I have no hesitation with Perryman starting him. He had 27 touches. That's good enough for me. Okay, so I'm very, very happy with him. Josh Dacos should have scored more with no Houston. He didn't. That would be a worry because he is a mid-price player also. It's a pass for me because of the fact that there was no Houston playing, so I wanted to see Dacos go about 120 without Houston, but that didn't happen. Going further down, Nick Dacos, he played well in the first half. I think he had 55 points in the first half, and he was tagged, so that's decent. He was had cramp, and as we saw with other players with cramp, I talked about Will Day in the previous previous, in this video anyway, we're talking about Will Day, and when they cramp up, we saw also Whitfield, he cramped up, the scoring died, so they just couldn't move. Okay, he looked like a kangaroo that got shot. Okay, the poor boy couldn't move, but he did enough. Okay, scored 66 Supercoach points, which obviously is not enough, but that's all he could do. Okay, when he can't walk, but the coach said he should be fine to play this week, so we'll see how he goes. Now, do we have anyone else that's Supercoach relevant here? Well, there's Ed Allen, okay, and he had 19 disposals, scored the 71 Supercoach points, which is really good, okay, but he's priced at 200k. Looks like the job security is secure, so if you want a sort of a 200k-ish player and with job security, going to average between 70 to 80, Ed Allen then is your boy, okay. McInnes is 200k. He had is a pass, okay, a defensive role in the back line, and there's nobody else here that we can really say that impressed us at Collingwood. We've now come to the end of today's video. There's like 3 days left before all the drama comes, all the anxiety hits in, the sleepless nights, okay, the thinking, the brainstorms. We're all going to have them, okay? We're going to have doubts. We don't know what to do. We are very comfortable with our team now until the team sheets come out, and then we're not comfortable no more. We're going to have last-minute decisions, okay? The only advice I can give is the team that you've built virtually all year and the team that you got now, the team you have now is probably your best one. Okay, and because you had a lot of time to think about it. So the team that you got now should be close to your best one, and just dependent now on team changes, okay? I found last year when I did last-minute changes, because I couldn't decide, when I did a last-minute change, it never worked out for me. So I'm going to stick to what I've got right now, and I did do a team reveal video. The team has changed since this one after these 2 games, so the structure has changed. Actually, a lot of things have changed, so unfortunately I don't have the same team anymore. Just coming down. Anyway, that's all for today. Thank you for joining, and remember one thing: it's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice. Ciao for now.
That's all, folks.